I think I'm going to put this on my Dr. Humanix YouTube because I need to honor the sacrifices of others. So this is about Aaron, the U.S. airman who did an extreme act of protest this past week, last week of February, uh, wanting his last message to be free Palestine uh, and or free Palestinians. And I also yesterday, I think it was, I happened to watch a video on YouTube where there's a baby that was born with most of his brain not formed, and his skull as well. And the doctors told the parents, this was in Florida, and this was about 8 years ago, and he lived about 5 years, Jackson, and he died about 2 years ago. And the doctor said, he would probably not live more than a few hours. And he lived 5 years. And just watching a video on that made me cry. Now, it's pretty cold this week, and I should be drinking more water, but I've been crying with what's happening in the world. Now, let's say I had followed up with the Canadian Armed Forces, and this would be the time of a psychiatric evaluation, let's say, that they would ask. And I would say these things trigger tears in me. Now, of course, they would think there is something wrong with that because it doesn't fit the norm, because the norm is very desensitized, and it's mental illness to not fit the norm, right? Now, of course, if I send you the video of this baby, for example, you're more likely to cry than, let's say, this 25-year-old man, let's say, that felt he had to do this. But it's still the state of the human condition that I talk about. And for me, crying is what a sentient and sapient creature would do, a human. So, of course, this psychiatrist would say, hey, don't need to cry with every video you see. I understand a lot of people have been desensitized, and that's what probably he would recommend. And don't watch any more videos about reality and take this medicine and call me in the morning, and we're going to push you through, and you'll have a great career in the Canadian Armed Forces. Now, of course, this career, the last time I talked to the Canadian Armed Forces, it was they're on their last chance with me, and I never got an answer. And it was to be a bioscience officer, where it would be to help create resiliency in the Canadian Armed Forces that would be asked to not go into combat as much as to go into Anthropocene emergency personnel, multitasking, polymath, jack of all trades positions constantly. And in part because, the politicians in charge, including, higher officials in the military, would not have prepared them for reality. Because preparing for the reality of what they'll be living through, or others are living through, doesn't fit the norm. It doesn't fit the norm to not be in denial and to not be desensitized. So again, I have to drink a lot of water. I live in a motorhome, while other people that say, hey, we love you, come visit us. Okay, then I would say, well, would you testify to my mental health that there's nothing wrong with it for crying for things that a normal human that will never allow themselves to become desensitized, which means I'm the elusive Homo sapien, you're the Homo communia. Would you testify if I go visit to my mental health, let's say in court or in a public forum? And of course, they're not going to do that. And of course, this is the norm. I'm not attacking anybody specific in my life. Most people I will never meet in my life are like this. So again, when I say to people, the Anthropocene is about the flaws of our species, and no types of mitigation ventures related to anything, whether it's inequalities, homelessness, poverty, a loss of biodiversity, climate change, the gap between the rich and poor, climate refugees, war refugees. is you must always include a discussion about contraception as the top number one solution, and then the rest other mitigation ventures. And again, you must not rely on technology for a quick fix. You must realize that none of you that claim to be human have any idea how broken it is up here, and also how drastic a change to your lifestyles, to the way you think and act, and how that's going to make you in withdrawal about your own lives for the rest of your lives would need to be for you to become an Homo sapien a little bit more during your lifetimes and not be part of the problem. Now, of course, I realize these things. I've gone through these stages of realization and self-awareness in blocks, and I managed to survive it and become stronger.